Spaetzle. Ask 10 different people and you'll probably get 10 different pronunciations. Spaetzle, 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 Spaetzle. However you say it, it's what we're making today. What could be described as tiny, noodle-esque little dumplings, Spaetzle is an absolute staple of German cuisine. It's served as a side dish with meat or just eaten as a meal. It can be topped with sauce, gravy, cheese, or simply tossed with some butter. It's as versatile as pasta and as common to dinner plates in Germany as pasta is in Italy. And as with anything, there are a million nuanced recipes for Spaetzle, but they all require 3 primary ingredients: flour, eggs, and milk. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make authentic German Spaetzle using a pretty basic but very tasty recipe. So let's do it! As always, let's start by taking a look at our ingredients. We've got 3 eggs, 1 1/4 cup all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/3 cup whole milk, and 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg. I'll mention that these measurements will make about 3 side dish sized portions of Spaetzle, but maybe only about 2 meal-sized servings. Multiply the recipe as needed. Get started by cracking your eggs in a medium-sized bowl and whisk them very thoroughly for about a solid minute. Then stir in the nutmeg, salt, and milk. Now begin whisking in the flour, but do it gradually. This step involves a little bit of fine-tuning, and to avoid a dough that is too thick, just add a little flour at a time. Whisk it thoroughly and then add a little more. I've got this recipe dialed in pretty well, so my 1 1/4 cup of flour was just about perfect. But take my word for it and add just a little at a time, just in case. And if you end up needing a little more than 1 1/4 cup of flour, that's perfectly okay too. It's all about ending up with the right consistency. You don't want it entirely stiff like bread or pasta dough. It's supposed to be a little on the runny side. The perfect consistency is when it slowly falls off your whisk in sort of a stretchy, thick ribbon. And while you're making the dough, get a medium or large pot of water heating on the stove. You don't need a raging, rolling boil, but it should definitely be at least at a low boil. And now we're ready to create our Spaetzle. And while I did bill this as an authentic Spaetzle making video, I am going to cheat a little bit by using a modern kitchen gadget that is specifically made for the job at hand. This is my simple spaetzle-maker. It sits over top of the pot of water and makes beautiful, consistent Spaetzle with very little effort. Just fill this small hopper with some dough and slide it back and forth across the metal grate. This allows little bits of the soft dough to drop into the boiling water, cooking almost instantly. A cheese grater with somewhat large holes can also be used in the same fashion. Just use a spatula to gently push the dough through the holes. When the Spaetzle begins floating on top of the water, it's done. And as you can see, it cooks super quickly. So you just want to do a little at a time so you can scoop that cooked Spaetzle out as soon as it's ready so you don't overcook it. I usually do a batch this size in 2 or 3 runs, and it still only takes a couple minutes in total. And since you guys know I like to be unnecessarily thorough, I'm also going to show you how this would have been done back in the old country by my German grandmothers and grandfathers. Though my technique definitely leaves a lot to be desired, this is pretty much how it was done in the old days. Using something like the back of a long bread knife, the dough would be thinned out on a Spaetzle board similar to this small wooden cutting board. Then thin flecks of dough would be scraped off and dropped into the boiling water. Same principle, putting small, narrow blobs of dough into boiling water, but requires a bit more practice and time than using a modern Spaetzle maker. Now, there are a lot of popular ways to serve Spaetzle. You could do a cheesy Spaetzle or Käsespätzle. Spaetzle with savory mushroom sauce or Jägerspätzle is an absolutely delicious option. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to go with the most simple and quick preparation. Just melt some butter in a large skillet, And I like to wait until the butter just begins to turn a light brown color and then toss in the spaetzle. Coat it with that butter and sprinkle on some salt, pepper, and fresh parsley. Cook for just a minute or two and serve. I like to garnish mine with just a little more fresh parsley. While you might be thinking that this dish just reminds you of buttered noodles, spaetzle absolutely has its own flavor and texture. There's something very satisfying about it, and this is some serious comfort food in my book. I also love that it's made with such simple, basic ingredients, and it can be made with something as simple as a knife and a slab of wood, if need be. And by the way, if you want to check it out, I'll put a link to the cheap spaetzle-maker that I used in the description below. It cost me about 12 bucks. So that's it for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all our latest stuff, including future German food videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Great Lakes Prepping.